Well, team, welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. We've got Eric from Agent Launch who's joining us today. And I really want you to listen into this episode because so often one of the questions that we get asked a lot, whether it's in the YouTube comments, whether it's emails that we get, is that, hey, what about agent lead generation? And most of the time people are referring to Zillow. Eric really goes through and sort of puts a bit of a debunking on Zillow through this episode and people just simply buying leads. He has a really good analogy of it. Great depth of experience in the sense of going through a journey of actually selling Facebook advertising to getting into real estate, and then in order to then solve a problem within his community that he was in, they created this company, and now obviously then helping people build this digital presence and nurturing leads all the way to close. So it is a really informative episode. Hope that you guys can tune in and really enjoy it. But thanks for tuning back in to Rethink Real Estate. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Eric, welcome to Rethink Real Estate.
Thanks for having me.
So the initial question that I ask most guests is, why should someone hang around and listen to the episode?
Because I've spent $11.5 million on real estate lead generation, and I'm here to spill all the secrets.
That's good. That's, you know what? That's clickbait right there. I love that.
Can you tell I'm a YouTuber?
Well, you know, I like the idea to think that you're in marketing. I like that. So let's go straight into this. This is an incredibly hot topic. You know, I put a comment up on a Facebook post or an Instagram post. I can't remember what it was, a long time ago, where I said that when people buy leads, is that ultimately it really diminishes the remainder of their career because they're not learning how to actually go out there and forage and find business in their own rights, and they are dependent on inbound. And I guess that we can talk about the lawsuit stuff and whatever later on in the episode if you wanted to share your opinion on that and all this whole buyer representation or whatever it is. But you're coming from a different angle than what most people are coming from, because I probably get about 3,000 emails a day from people just going, hey, I can give you buyer leads or I can sell you leads, where you're coming from a position of how do you generate or how do you build something to generate your own and own that generation. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're buying leads, you're a renter, really. You're renting someone else's asset. And that's kind of what Zillow is they've built their own asset and then they're renting those leads out to you like being a landlord. Generating leads, how I would describe that, is building a system that you're in control of. And most people don't make that distinction in real estate. But I think you're absolutely right. When you are buying leads, it doesn't put you in a position of control or power.
One of the things that we found with some of the people that we've interviewed, there was a team out of Arizona that we interviewed, Chris and Brittany. Just recently on the podcast, there was an episode probably about 2 months ago now. They had, again, forgive me for not understanding exactly what it is. You might know a better Zillow Premiere where like it was something ridiculous where they're like, oh, it was, you know, it sound really, really great, but then they had to make a certain commitment to building a team of a certain size. And when they broke down the numbers, those leads were only equating to like something like 27% of their business, or their profit margin was absolutely very, very slim. And they were dealing with this team of 12, 14, 15 people in order to make sure that Zillow would keep feeding them those leads. And it just became this really slippery slope. And the reason I bring that up is because the podcast went in a direction that I didn't expect it to, because very often I have some people on here that might fall through the cracks of vetting that are like, oh no, go and buy Zillow leads and, you know, build a really big team. And it's like, I don't really know that that's the ideal way of doing real estate. Well, it's not that I don't know. I do know that that is not the ideal way of doing real estate. So walk me through, you know, Agent Launch is the company that you operate. Give me an understanding of what you guys do and how you walk someone through the process of doing this.
Yeah, well, I think we at Agent Launch, we try to be the antithesis of, you know, Zillow leads, because Zillow Premier Agent, I mean, we've had so many people come to us where they relied on it and they just turned off the tap. And what happened is they just decided to give those leads, which are shared leads. So you really have to be glued to your phone and fight over those leads. And they're not cheap. And then they started giving them to a new Flex partner. And Flex is an invite-only program. So they put themselves at risk. So we like to see ourselves as the antithesis of that, where our motto is we build lead generation assets that you own and control. So the first year of our program is us building those assets. So I'm talking, PPC, Google Ads, Facebook ads, retargeting strategies, the backend CRM system that you're going to use to actually manage these leads and approach them in like a genuine value driven way, but also keep you organized. So when you are in month 3, 4, 5 of this, and you start to get busy and you start to get a big pipeline, you can actually manage it. So, and then what we also do with our clients is set them up for success. So once the, first year is over, essentially they have this asset that we've downloaded into your business. You have full transparency and insight into it. So you can take that and we'll teach you how to self-manage. But the idea is that after a year, it'll be pretty optimized. And then you can use that to grow. Because as a marketer, and you probably know, like if you want to scale any marketing effort, doesn't really matter what business you're in, outsourcing usually goes only so far. You need to almost have a little bit of transparency and insight because most companies are a black box.
Yeah. The thing that I found staggering is that, there's a graph, and excuse me as I look down, but there's a graph on your website that actually put a little bit more into perspective around what you meant by the factor of you're renting, and where, Zillow's built this asset and ultimately they're the landlord and you're just simply renting and getting their leads, is that there's a graph that says, expected year-over-year cost where Zillow's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And yours is graduated down on the platform. I just want you to give a bit of perspective around that and what you mean by that.
Yeah. So Zillow is like renting, like your rent generally stays flat. I mean, costs probably do go up a little bit. Maybe we should adjust the graph to be a little bit up, but generally with us, the first year is like investing and having us build the asset, optimize the asset. And then you don't have that cost in the following years because we empower you to take it over and self-manage. Now, honestly, some of our clients do like us to keep managing the ads and working with us, but we give you that option, right? And so generally the ROI goes up because leads you generate today, a handful of them are going to close, in a few months, but a lot of them are going to close in like a year from now. And so the ROI just kind of snowballs on top of itself. So generally gets better, but the cost actually goes down over time. So that's why we built this model essentially, is because I actually feel like it is the best model for an agent, even though, we're not the cheapest up front necessarily, but long term, it's a much better play.
Yep. And I think that there's something to be said that when you're refining and building out that department for an agent, it's not to say that this is the only thing that a lot of agents do. Like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that I'm sure that you've got agents that you do this for that lean very heavily into this and they really focus on this in a very big way. But I'm assuming that there's a great deal of other agents that use it just as another department of their business in order to have inbound incoming leads. Or is this something that you would suggest that someone takes their database of existing clients, if they're a realtor that has an existing database, or they're somebody that is building a database and they funnel it through this for top of mind awareness? Like, is this more cold nurture, cold lead inbound, or is it something that they can also plug for passive reach out to their database as well?
It's actually, I would say it's all of the above, actually, because yes, it's about generating new opportunities. So people who don't know you and funneling them from, I have no idea who you are, to I'm starting to get an idea of who you are, to like, okay, now I trust you a little bit. Now we're talking, funneling those cold prospects down. But because we implement retargeting strategies, part of that focus is actually your database. So there's a few things there that I think are important. Yes, retargeting people to stay top of mind, retargeting people, because a lot of times people on the internet, whether agents want to admit it or not, they're on 4 or 5 different websites. They're getting prospected by 4 or 5 different agents. Why are they going to choose you? So if you have retargeting ads reminding them about you, bringing your brand top of mind, you're sending them value, that's going to increase the odds that they choose you, right? The other thing is that we love to do is implement a weekly newsletter. So that goes out to everyone in your database. So we have a way of structuring leads: hot, nurture, unresponsive. So over the first 10 days a new lead comes in, you're going to categorize them. And then that's going to determine how many touch points you're going to make in the coming months. And so like hot leads, it's at least once a week. Nurture, it's at least once a month. And these are personalized, high touch, like, personalized video outreach. But everyone's going to get your weekly newsletter. And the weekly newsletter, like, I don't think a lot of people do it well. You need to make a newsletter that people care about receiving. And so the way we do it is there's 4 parts really. The first part is a pick of the week or a deal of the week. So why do you love a certain property on the market? tell people why it's special. Is it priced well? Is it unique? What about it do you really like? Then you benchmark a few solds. Then you have real estate news. So solds basically that have benchmarked a property type or a price point. Then you have real estate news. So anything that's relevant in the market. And then you have things to do. Like, I don't know about you, but I struggle to keep up with things to do with where I live. And so I would almost read a newsletter just for that. And then you attach a cool video to it where you actually walk through all of that, like a personalized video. And so creating that weekly touch point, you're going to get like I had a client just reach out to me and say, Eric, we just had 5 PPC leads from a year ago, all of a sudden became active on our site and we booked all of them in for an appointment. She sent me that last week. And I was like, that's the thing, is she's doing those weekly touch points. She's staying top of mind. And whether you see it or not as an agent, people know who they're going to reach out to when they're ready. They're probably just not ready yet. And so whether or not you think it's happening, it's usually happening in the background if you're doing your job. So that was probably a long answer, but we want to cover all of those by using paid ads, email, text, retargeting, the whole thing. It's like bringing them into your ecosystem and then not letting them go.
Yeah. So when you're creating an ecosystem, so to speak, and I love that terminology, is that how do you, like, let's say you take somebody that really just has nothing to do with, any of this type of stuff that you're building for them, and you start from scratch. What is the process of where do you start from a foundational perspective? Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there's only an element of information that you will give us on this podcast because you need to obviously understand the specific person, specific price point, specific areas, specific everything. I get that. But like, what is the infrastructure in the very first degree that you would take somebody through to get them prepared to see if they're, because I'm sure that there's part of this as well, Eric, that it's kind of like if I was trying to draw a parallel, is that our non-distressed auction platform is a platform that is unique to us, and so many agents and sellers that have had their listings on the marketplace for a period of time and maybe gone through a price reduction and it hasn't sold, see it as the silver bullet that will solve their problems. However, we don't do real estate by magic, right? If it comes down to the fundamental flaws of the seller's expectations, or it's got a massive defect about that property that's going to be pretty difficult to sell, then again, for lack of better terminology, you could roll a turd in glitter, it's still a turd. Okay. However, is that I'm assuming that you get the same type of thing when agents come to you saying, you are my messiah, you are going to solve all of my income issues, and it's going to happen relatively quickly as well. How do you temper that expectations, and what do you take them through in the very first onset of bringing them into your program?
Well, you kind of said it. I think expectation setting is really important because people always say I'm pretty honest on these calls, and like the honest truth is like this isn't a magic pill. It's like you have to be willing to do the work. But I promise you, the people that are willing to do the work and show up are successful. And so I kind of look at it like a pipeline. There can be problems at any stage of that pipeline, whether it's the ads, right? Are we running the ads correctly? So the first thing we're going to do is build out the ads in accordance to a strategy that makes sense for that person. So one thing that's working really well for us right now is new construction ads. And not a lot of people do this, but we build custom landing pages for that. So we figure out like, what is your ideal farm area? What type of properties do you want to focus on? Building an ad strategy around that. The second part is building out the CRM system so they can actually manage that. The third part is building out to making sure they're equipped to have the conversations they're going to have, because that's actually where a lot of balls get dropped. Like I said, people are talking to 5 agents. Why are they going to choose you? Well, if you're not building rapport, asking the right questions, and then the ball can further drop if you're not following up properly. So there's a lot of places where bottlenecks can happen. So we built a lot of support into our program to address those bottlenecks specifically, because that's just the reality. But I think a lot of it comes up to, there's a lot of companies out there that'll throw big guarantees. They'll say, we're the best thing on planet Earth, and they'll kind of pull the blanket over people's eyes. And I think new agents get sucked into this. Experienced agents have kind of been burned before, so they know. So our ideal client, like we have a paid community where people can learn stuff themselves, but our kind of core program, our ideal client is someone who's already a successful agent looking to grow further. Right. Small teams or solo agents who are already successful and want to really find a new channel, or just wean off of Zillow or find something better, something like that. So, yes, we always focus on like, with our sales coach, who's right now one of the fastest growing teams in the country, we're bringing in people to actually address these bottlenecks at every stage of the funnel because they can happen. And I don't think a lot of companies actually really solve end to end the whole problem, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, I think that instant gratification is probably one of your biggest challenges in the sense that, it's one of those things. And again, you may tell me that I'm wrong about this, but I said to, like, we have a strategy that we've tried to roll out within our own organization and with some of the agents we work with, where we want to take their database of existing clients that they already know, and we want to use the social targeting in order to make sure that they're top of mind. So, for example, I don't believe in flyer dropping anymore because it's not a monitorable thing where you can see whether or not, or how many people you did reach and what audience it got or whatever it is. You don't know whether they just picked it up and put it in the trash, where I think that, the social targeting is an opportunity for you to do that passively. But you get a phone call from somebody that's in your network that says, "Hey, Ben, come and list my home," is that you need to understand that you're not going to know whether or not it was because of the gradual layering effect that you had over a long period of time in social versus that made that phone call, or whether or not they drove past your sign, but because of the layering effect they were triggered in order to call you. Like, you just don't know. And I find that a lot of people want to know that, no, well, I want to know that direct dollar is bringing me two back, and this is not that thing. Or is it?
You're right. I think it's a bit of both because you never know how many touch points that person's actually received. And even if you ask them, they don't know. That's the funny part about it because, they might have seen 10 of your ads and got some of your texts and your videos, but like they don't recall that. And I think you're bang on when you say like, you don't really know what put them over the edge.
Yep.
But I think what people experience is they start to feel it. And it's just a gut feeling. Like you can feel the traction building. You can feel the rapport. Like when people usually get on a call with me, they're like, "Eric, I've watched all of your videos or a ton of your videos, on YouTube. And I feel like I know you." And it's like almost my job at that point to just convince them I'm not someone different than they think I am on camera, um, and so, yeah, it's interesting. And I agree with you that like mail and stuff, you can't really track. Where we approach that today, if you don't mind me talking about it, I think
Please.
physical marketing has a place. Where it works best is in combination with the digital stuff. So like, if you're doing Facebook ads, Google ads, and you're retargeting people correctly, and then they see your bus bench or they get a flyer in the mail, or, one thing we like to do is do door hangers with a QR code. So if you have a listing and that sells, instead of just typical circle prospecting, go hang some door hangers. Congratulations, your home just increased in value by $25,000. See here, and then
Is
you
that
make a
because
video.
is that because of the retargeting that then you can do from that position at that point?
Yes, because when you have a QR code that leads to a video, you can pixel that video, and now they're in your retargeting audience and they start seeing you online. And hopefully they've already seen you online and now they're seeing you in person. And then in their mind, you take up a lot of space when they think about real estate. And I remember as a kid, this was pre social media. But when I remember this girl in our market and she was on all the bus benches. And I remember I saw her at a bar one time and I was like, "Hey, I don't even remember her name now, but she was just so synonymous with real estate in my area." And she was like, "Yeah, I get that a lot." I'm like, I think back to that moment because the physical stuff works, but now I wouldn't only do that. It's like when you combine those two strategically, that's when you become hard to ignore.
Yeah, it's a really great point. I want to lean back into something that obviously you and I are a little bit more comfortable with it than most of the realtors that are out there, because there's a category of people that, and I want to understand your strategy when somebody's just really not good with video, and they're just not comfortable with video. We get that quite a lot when we're talking about a digital approach. Very often, it's like it's all good and well for you to say that, "Hey, this is the way we should do it," because you're comfortable speaking in front of a camera and you can you've got a long format. You've got a long format podcast that then you can cut into the short format that you might need for ad content or whatever it may be. So when it comes down to the approach of say in the real estate community, is there a way to do it without video or them having to do that stuff? Because I see great many people that are uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I get this a lot too, because you don't need video. Like we have lots of clients who don't even use video and they're successful. Video is how you can take it to the next level, but it doesn't always work out well for everyone. I've seen some people where I've had to think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if the video is hurting them. So I think it depends on the person. But this is what I would say: no one was born good at video. I never saw myself being a YouTuber. I was a shy kid. Like it took me getting into a very specific role at a job where I was able to exercise this skill that I was then able to later translate, public speaking into YouTube. And so I'll tell you this, like I coached clients on YouTube for a long time, 2 years actually, real estate agents. And we had a lot of successful case studies. But what I noticed was really interesting. Over the last 2 years, YouTube got pretty saturated. There's a lot of people doing it now. There's more competition. But even the clients that were the best at it, even the ones that were successful, when they got busy, YouTube always fell to the bottom of the list. And you can't do that if you build a YouTube channel. And I realized that building a YouTube channel is a really hard thing to do. And that's when we made the shift to one-off, personalized video, unedited, rough cut. You just film like a bomb. And anyone can do that. And as long as you're coming from a place of value, your first 25 videos might suck, and you should go into it expecting that. But everyone can do it. I really believe that. And for some people, it may really not be for them. And it's not a requirement, just like social media is not a requirement. I think sometimes when people force it, it can actually be hurting them. Yeah. I really believe that. It's like having a profile that you haven't posted on in like 2 years might be worse than not having a profile, And so I think there's a line to be drawn there where it's not for everyone. But I think if you're doing short, off the cuff, value driven videos where you're just trying to add value to that person and their journey, I don't think you need to be super polished or overdressed or edited. Like, I think you can do it just in front of your computer or in front of your phone. Like one of my clients, Linnea, her approach is literally she gets out her phone and she's just like, hey, like right in front of it, it's like a quick 20, 30-second video to just welcome them when they become a lead and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a real person, and welcome to our website. I'm going to be giving you a call later from a whatever area code. If you get that, that's probably me. Let me know how I can help. I'd love to get the website set up correctly for you. Hope to talk to you soon. It's like, it doesn't have to be this overproduced thing. So I do agree that it's not for everyone. And in some cases, if someone feels like they're really bad, like you don't have to do it. But I also think you will improve over time, and you should expect, like what I always tell people on YouTube is like, don't expect anything for 6 months. It can happen, but it probably won't. Yeah. And don't expect your good videos to be great. And I've had clients that came out of the gate with great videos. And I've had people that took a while to like work on that skill. And so it just kind of depends.
Yep. But ultimately you don't need to have a strategy with it. And sometimes it hurts more than it helps. So I think that's a really good understanding of it.
Yeah, and I think in the age of over automation and over polished, I think the trend online right now is going back to the raw, uncut. It's like behind the scenes, like TikTok especially has gone really skewed towards lately unedited videos or lightly edited videos. I think people are they're becoming a little tired of the over polished thing. And so I think it's okay to be a little raw and real. People can connect to that a little bit more.
Coming from the over-polished, coming from the two guys who've got a studio and that's good. However, the thing that like I want to break down a little bit more like your journey into this side of the real estate industry. I do want to get there, because the one thing that I do have to agree with, a little bit of research that I was doing before our podcast, is that Agent Launch is a very comprehensive sort of walkthrough of what you're trying to do. I have to applaud you on that, is that how comprehensive it ultimately is, because usually when you deal with a lead company, it's kind of confusing. And I think it's done that way on purpose in order to confuse people around, well, what am I actually getting? Because everyone's looking for that dopamine hit of instant gratification. So I want to come back to that. But before we go there, today we're filming on the 19th of March, and that'll date the episode. But I just want to give people a little bit of context, is that the lawsuit has been, like all of it with NAR, has been announced that it's going to be, settling, and it needs to go through court approval and all this stuff. I don't want an opinion from you on what you think it's going to do to the industry. I want an opinion from you, Eric, on what should agents' message be to their clients? Like, and again, if you haven't formed one yet, that's totally cool because I'm putting you on the spot. But I think that realistically is that, like, do people really care about this? Should they incorporate it into their communication? Are they better to ignore it? Does that hurt them, or do they have to be at the forefront of this? Like, what should the messaging be if we were going to say from an idealistic standpoint? What do you think people should do?
Yeah, I don't know if I have like a fully formed opinion on this because it's all still happening, but I think that agents are going to be hyper aware of it. The consumer base is not necessarily going to be as nearly as aware of it. When I talk to experienced agents, and I'm doing a spot with one of my clients on this a little bit later, so we are going to dive deep into it too. But I think it's interesting because the experienced agents know that, you know, they almost never have a client who's unhappy with the agency they get on the buy side. There's also the conversation that I know in, you know, where I'm from in Canada, you can't do dual agency, and so that's actually not allowed. And I think that's conversation is happening too. I think that it will challenge agents to present their value. That's going to be the struggle, because they're going to have to really show their value as a buyer's agent a little bit more to get that commitment from the person. And I think that will be the single biggest challenge. And so the communication around that is probably comes down to education. How can I educate buyers of the value of buyer's agency, regardless of how they get paid, right? I think that will be the single biggest challenge.
Yeah. You know, again, one of the things that we have a very, very easy understanding of is marketplaces that actually don't have any buyer representation whatsoever in Australia and New Zealand, for example, where, you know, we originally were founded, and also I did real estate for the majority of my life. Was, you know, it was funny. I got to North America and I said, looked around and went, what do you mean you get paid to be a buyer's agent? What do you do? Well, no, well, we represent them. And it's like, oh, okay. But who pays you? The buyer? No, the sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm just gonna park that because that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Cool. And then here we are.
Yeah.
So outside of that, I think that I want to get into a little bit before we close out a little bit more about agent launch and, you know, how you guys sort of got to where you are now and what the journey looks like for the future, and how do you see things progressing?
So you want a little bit of a backstory?
Yeah, backstory, and then what does the future look like?
Yeah, sure. So I started working for a real estate marketing agency in Vancouver. I was very fortunate to be around a lot of great people, came from the industry. And that's when I was given this role to take over from the COO to actually go out to real estate brokerages and present on how to run Facebook ads for agents. And this was when Facebook ads was still like kind of newer, if you will. So I got flown around the country. I think I did 110 in-person like speaking spots in brokerages, and I was like prospecting them and setting these up myself. And then I ended up doing another 30 or 40 webinars. Then I became an agent. I started implementing some of the stuff I did. I started doing Google ads, Facebook ads. I found Google ads actually worked a lot better for me. So then a lot of people at my brokerage, which was KW at the time, started asking us what we were doing. So we started helping them. And then me and my business partner decided to start a course/coaching program specifically for lead gen. After doing that for, you know, a year or 2 years, a lot of people just wanted me to do it for them. And that's how Agent Launch was kind of born initially, was people wanting me to just, hey, Eric, can you handle all of this? And then the rest of Agent Launch was a series of solving problems around that. Because what we found is we would generate leads for people, but then they didn't really know what to do with them and they didn't have a system to manage them. So, okay, well, now we're going to build the system, and we've optimized that system. And then, okay, now they don't know what questions to ask, or they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to nurture them. Okay, now we're going to coach you on sales. And it just became this evolving process of solving the end-to-end solution. So yeah, that's kind of where we are now. The last little while we've been building a community. So it's not too expensive to get in our community. And you can learn a lot of this stuff. We have really detailed courses to go through and implement ads, systems, all of that stuff I've spoken about. And then our, you know, premier program is very done for you. We take care of everything so you can really just focus on the highest value thing, which is sales. So I think the future is going to be a big part of building our community and growing our program and layering in more and more things into it. So I hope that was a short enough summary.
No. I think that I think that it gives people a great deal more context to the factor of that, at the end of the day, you were solving a problem that was right there in your face because you guys were doing it, and then people were like, oh, seeing the results in it, well, how do I do it? And then managing that from there and filling that need.
Yeah, I think any good business comes from problem awareness. Like, how aware of you are the real problem of what's going on? And so this was just the company I came from was great and the founders were amazing. The type of stuff they were doing was more in the like building nice websites, and they were running some ads and stuff, but totally different, where ours is more like pure performance. It's like, let's generate and convert leads. That's what we're all about. And everything is built around that premise of how to do that or improve the result of that more. Because at the end of the day, that's what most agents want.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I guess that as we sort of round out the episode, we always like to leave with a little bit of a understanding of maybe a life hack that you might have for our audience. Again, just assuming that you might have a life hack for somebody, but then also podcasts from a marketing standpoint, from an online perspective, books that are your favorite books. It might not have to be anything work related. It might be something more personal. But why don't we start off with podcasts and books? That's usually the easiest way to go. Any podcasts that you listen to on a regular basis and that you get a lot of your information from?
Yeah, I'll give you 3. This might be a humble brag of 2, but they're probably pretty well known now. But Alex Hormozi and Andrew Huberman. I was following Hormozi before he was even on YouTube.
Right.
So I followed him from like when most people had no idea who he was, and I was telling people about him. And then now he's, everyone knows who he is. And Huberman, same. I've been following Huberman since episode 3.
Wow.
And so I was right away, I knew he was going to be big. I was like, this guy's really good. And so you can learn most things you need in business and life from those guys. And
I just lost
did I?
No, there you go. You got yeah. Sorry,
I think I hit the space bar.
Okay.
The other one I'd layer in is Naval Ravikant. He's pure genius in my opinion and has some amazing life advice. As far as life hacks myself, I mean, I try to stick to a good amount of daily habits. Some being steps, working out, tracking my food is a big one these days, and then planning a day ahead. But also getting out and going for a walk in the sun in the morning has just been a huge difference maker for me.
Wow, that's good. And you're still based out of Vancouver?
I live in Portugal now.
Oh, Portugal. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I'm here in Lisbon. So I was kind of living around the world. I left Vancouver actually 3 years ago. So I actually built a lot of agent launch from living in Croatia for a while, then Mexico, and now I'm in Portugal.
But I hear that Lisbon specifically is an unbelievable place.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm loving it so far. So winter doesn't feel like winter being from Canada.
I'm sure of it. Well, again, Eric, thank you so much for being open with where we see, I think so many people fall into the trap of the lead generation side of it. I think this is a refreshing conversation. We're going to have all your details below in the show notes so that people can reach out to you, and hopefully you can help them start building a bit more of an asset for themselves rather than renting.
I'd love it. Thanks for the conversation, Ben. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric. So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.